Today's show is sponsored by the New Orleans Bourbon Festival. Enjoy exceptional bourbon, bourbon seminars, and cuisine surrounded by the charm and culture of New Orleans. The dates are March 24 through 26. Learn more at NewOrleansBourbonFestival.com. We are also sponsored by Round Table Woodworks and BarrelChips.com. They are bringing whiskey smoke to your favorite foods with their authentic whiskey barrel smoking chips.
You're listening to the Firewater Review. This is a podcast dedicated to whiskey reviews. On today's show, we will be reviewing Eagle Rare. I'm your host, Seth Brown. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Aaron Cave. How are you, sir?
Doing lovely. How are you?
Doing well. Doing well. So this one, I'm kind of looking forward to this one. Because if I'm not mistaken, I don't think either one of us have just a normal bottle of Eagle Rare.
Correct.
Mine is a store pick, and I believe yours is as well. And they're not from the same store.
Correct.
So it should be a very interesting review.
Yes.
So yeah, Eagle Rare, I don't even know, and maybe you can tell me a little bit about it, because did they cut down all of their private picks to the standard proof?
To like the 90 proof?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, everything. Honestly, I think everything Buffalo Trace does is they won't do anything at barrel strength or cask strength. It's all cut down to whatever the normal market cut is.
Right.
So, same with their Buffalo Trace picks or Old Weller Antique or even, Elmer T. Lee. Everything is just whatever the standard proof is on it.
Yeah. But they do vary in age, right, though?
Yeah. I recently actually ran across a good buddy of mine, went down and picked a barrel of Eagle Rare, and the barrel he picked actually ended up being an 11-year barrel.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And I hate to say this, but I drank through that super quick. I usually try to, when I open a good bottle, I always try to give it like a month to open up, and then I try to visit it slowly and make it last. This was a phenomenal pick, and and if anyone wants to read about it, that's one that's on the Sons of Winston Churchill. So it was fantastic.
Nice. Yeah, for a long time down here, especially around me at least anyway, you didn't see a whole lot of Eagle Rare picks. It was just, and Buffalo Trace in general, just the Buffalo Trace bourbon itself was the same way. It's like I think they did away with the barrel program for those for a while, didn't they?
I'm not sure. I feel like whenever I'm in Kentucky, I can almost always find a Buffalo Trace pick somewhere, but Eagle Rare are kind of, few and far between. Same with some of the other picks. But I feel like Buffalo Trace, you can always find a pick somewhere,
yeah.
But everything else was kind of limited. And I mean, in Ohio, I'm lucky if I can just stumble across a bottle of Buffalo Trace anymore. It seems like it's just, yeah. My normal liquor store, anytime they get Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare, or Blanton's, it doesn't even go out on the shelf. They call,
really?
The people. Yeah, they call the people that buy from them a lot and say, "Hey, we got this in. Do you want a bottle?" You don't hardly ever see it on the shelf anymore.
Huh. Yeah, I know Blanton's has gotten that way in some places. I mean, there's I went into a store the other day and they had it behind the counter. And I'm thinking, this used to, just sit on shelves and you pick it up anytime you want to. But, the Eagle Rare, it wasn't until probably a year or maybe a little bit more, a little bit longer than that some of the store picks and private picks started popping up down around my area. So this, I was super stoked to see them and was all over picking them up anytime I saw them. So anyway,
I mean, yeah, they're great picks. I mean, 10-year aged bourbon. It's just, for $30, can't beat it anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's still age stated. It used to be single barrel. It's not anymore, or at least it's not stated as single barrel anywhere.
Honestly, for me, the way I look at it, it still is single barrel, but I understand the whole reasoning behind them taking the single barrel off, which I'll get into in a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's for me, it's still I feel like it's still a single barrel.
Yeah. Yeah. If it's not, it's not mingled too much, I don't think. So as you stated, what can you tell us a little bit about it?
All right. Well, I'm going to go into a little bit of the history of Eagle Rare. So Eagle Rare was originally produced actually at Seagram's. It was introduced in 1975 at 101 proof. The Sazerac company, which owns Buffalo Trace, purchased Eagle Rare from Seagram's in 1989, where they actually kept it at 101 proof up until 2005, when they decided to take off the 101 proof, discontinue that, and bring it down to a 10-year 90 proof single barrel. So, and they kept it at a 90 proof single barrel up until past couple of years is when they took off the label of the single barrel and moved the 10-year age statement from the neck to the back of the bottle.
Right.
So, I mean, most people know Eagle Rare's Buffalo Trace Mash Bill #1, which is the lower rye of the mash bills.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole reason they moved the labels from being 10-year from the neck to the back and the age statement off is they claim they they changed their bottling line from hand bottling to like a mechanical speed bottling.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they couldn't, the way things were, they couldn't label it the way it was anymore for the age statement. And then due to the fact that they went from purging the lines after every single barrel to make it single barrel, they stopped purging the lines, so they couldn't guarantee that there was not any kind of distillate from the previous barrel and the one that they were bottling from the new barrel.
Right.
So that's why they took off the single barrel statement.
Yeah.
So if, it's still single barrel, but if there's still a little bit of some other barrel residing within that barrel, they can't say it's single barrel. So that's why they took off the single barrel statement.
Yeah. So at that point, it becomes a technicality, I guess, or I mean, I guess almost a law, really, I guess.
Yeah. So, but for me, I believe it's still single barrel. If they're not batching it with 2 barrels or 3 barrels, it's one single barrel still being bottled, but there could be remnants of another barrel in with it. So, but it's still on the back of the bottle. It still is 10 years. My bottle says 10 years, age 10 years. So there still is an age statement on it. So, and it's 90 proof. And
yeah, it's not like the Elijah Craig. They had the Big Red 12 on the front for so long, and then they had like 1 or 2 runs of the 12 being on the back, and then that was it. And I think that's what a lot of people were worried about with Eagle Rare when they moved it from the neck to the back. Well, then what's the next logical step? Well, to remove it. But it's been on the back now for a while, a couple of years, I guess, 1 or 2 years. And I occasionally still see some. I don't see so many 750 milliliter bottles, but I still see some 1.75s that still have the 10-year single barrel on the neck. And before that, it was on the actual front label, single barrel 10-year.
Yeah.
And then it moved up to the neck, and then from the neck to the back. What year did you say it was that they bumped it down from 101 to 90?
2005.
So really not that long ago.
Yeah, it was. They did 101 for a long time. From 89 to 2005, it was Eagle Rare 101.
Huh. I tell you, man, some of the older Eagle Rare, I think it was a 79 Eagle Rare, which would have been Seagram's distillate. That was some phenomenal bourbon. It was from an old decanter that had been decanted, just in a crystal decanter after that. That stuff was great, man. Just that stuff from the 70s and 80s. It's just, caramel and butterscotch, and it was so good. It was so good. We plowed through that. My brother-in-law drank through that one night around Christmas, man. That was some good stuff. I've been on the hunt for older Eagle Rare ever since. I've got a mini. I haven't cracked that one open. The mini's from 77. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Well, all right. So let's take a quick break, take some notes on this, and when we come back, we will review Eagle Rare.
Dirty Knees Soap Co. DirtyKneesSoap.com. Dirty Knees Soap Co.
Wookie solo.
Seth, what are you doing?
Wookie.
What are you doing, man?
What's going on?
I've really been digging the Java scrub lately, man, from Dirty Knees. I love that stuff.
I think you need to look a little closer at the package. It's Java scrub, not Jabba.
Seriously?
It's coffee. It's not Jabba the Hutt.
Oh, man.
Seth is such a nerd.
All this time. I ordered it just because of that. Now, what am I going to do now?
I'll take it. I'll take it off your hands, buddy. I'll trade you for a Minnesota wood. So
okay.
I'll ship that in the mail. You ship me that one, and we'll be square. Okay?
Fair.
Seth,
deal.
can you throw in a Greedo real quick?
Utita solo.
Yes.
That's his signature impression right there.
See, I'm going to have to get the rustic country now because it's green. It matches green.
There you go. Dirty Knees Soap Co. DirtyKneesSoap.com. Use promo code Bourbon20 to get 20% off your first order.
Welcome back, everyone. In the break, we were reviewing Eagle Rare 10-year. Aaron and I are sipping on a couple of different store picks, so I am super interested in hearing our notes and comparing them between the two. So, Mr. Cave, if you'd like to kick it off, please feel free to do so.
All right. So just want to say this bottle is from High Times Wine and Spirits out of California. It's a 10-year age-dated Eagle Rare. 90 proof, and on the nose, I tell you what, it's really sweet up front. A lot of like candied fruits. I get a lot of orange peel, a little bit of like candied pineapple, papaya. It's got a nice little oak to it, like almost like a smoked oak, and then just a little bit of almonds. A hint of leather, and what really stands out the most on the nose for me is toasted marshmallows. It's weird. There's a few bourbons I've had toasted marshmallows with before, and it's that they're always usually really good. It always hits you at the end. It's just like a light toasted marshmallow. So the palate with this is just it's great. It's soft. It's creamy. It's just a traditional bourbon. It's uh, honey, brown sugar, a little bit of caramel. Got that vanilla that kind of sneaks in there. Then it just after that, it's just a traditional Buffalo Trace. It's got that great citrus, little bit of cherries, orange marmalade, uh, and then it just hints of pepper and cinnamon, just kind of finish it off, and then you always just get just that little bit of oak at the end,
Right,
and
right.
and the finish is it's a great finish. It's not long at all. It's a medium finish, but it lets you know it's just how good this bourbon is. It's caramel, toasted marshmallows come back in there at the finish, and it's just got a nice peppery, spicy like oak finish to it, and I love that. I've always been a huge fan of Eagle Rare. Anytime I can find a barrel pick, I always pick it up. Just I, I don't know what it is. I know a lot of people are like, "Well, why are you buying barrel picks? What's so what makes a barrel pick better than something the master distiller picks out?" And I've always wondered that myself, but I've always found myself drawn to barrel picks just because I'm always interested on what other people like.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and I like the difference between barrels. So, but I've it's a great pick. They did a good job. High Times always does a good job. I've had a lot of their Buffalo Trace stuff, a couple Blantons, a couple Elmer T. Lees, a couple Old Weller Antiques, and they've all been great. This is good pour, and I'm giving it a 88.
Nice. That is a good pour.
Yeah, it's good. They did a good job on this one.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head too there with as far as store picks, and because a master distiller is choosing to their palate and for consistency for the brand, and it's not. I mean, I know Four Roses in the past, and I'm sure maybe some of the other ones too, but Four Roses more, popularly would be the ones to, Jim Rutledge would help pick a barrel for, Haymarket in Louisville or something like that. So you would find more private picks that Four Roses would do, but you don't really see that with any other distillery to my knowledge. So it's just based on, the store or the group or the society that are picking these. And I agree with you. It's fun. I mean, I have two Eagle Rare barrel picks, and they're completely different. One has a lot more spice on it than the other, and it's neat to see the differences between them and to kind of pick them out. And it's got the same label on the front, the same information on the back, just a different store sticker on the front, and they're completely different. So mine is actually from Holmes Liquor, and that is it's in Dalton, Georgia, the carpet capital of the world.
Oh wow, carpet!
So they claim to be, yeah. But this was a little bitty store, man. They had Eagle Rare, they had Kentucky Spirit, Buffalo Trace, I think 2 different Four Roses picks. They had for no bigger than the store was. I think they probably had about 10 different private barrels, probably I would say 6 of which were bourbons.
Oh, good for them.
So it was they're not far off of 75, so if you ever find yourself in around Dalton, Georgia, look up Holmes, HOLMES Liquor. Got some good picks going on there. This one, the nose on it just reminds me, I mentioned before the break those bottles from the 70s and 80s, just the noses on them just being so sweet. This one reminds me a lot of those bourbons. It's got a lot of butterscotch for me, some honey. The oak is pretty light. I mean, you can pick it up, but there's some nice hints of oak. You mentioned nuts. I get some nuts in there too. But I mean, the nose is just super sweet, and just looking at it, it's kind of a darker straw color, and there's the legs on it weren't super long, so I wasn't expecting a whole lot of body, especially after getting the nose, and it does have some to it, more than what I expected, but it still manages to be on the lighter end of a medium body. But I do get some vanilla. The light oak is there too. This one on the palate, maple syrup. It was just so full of maple syrup. But it was really good. And towards the end of the palate, I start picking up some of the black pepper, and that helps to balance out that. I wish it had some more spice to it though. This one for me is just if I could drink this every day, just to, come home and this is the first pour that I have every day, it would be a phenomenal daily drinker. But it just, wanting to have a little bit more oomph to it. I wish that it had that. And there was, on the very end of it, I was picking up some mint, oddly enough. And for this to be, the lower rye mash bill, I felt that was a little weird, but there was some kind of poking in there just to say, hey, what's up? The finish on this one was medium. There too, I wish it had a little bit more finish on it. But it did manage to kind of trail out there for a while, surprisingly enough, just with the lack of spice that the palate had on it. The sweetness just really carries it out a little bit longer here, and it's the maple syrup is still pretty prevalent there. The oak is there. Again, just that oddly enough that mint was there, but it was predominantly maple syrup for me. I mean, overall, it's a good pour. I just wish there was a little bit more to it. It fell a little flat, but it's still a solid pour. I gave this one an 84.5. I wish it had a little bit more to it. It's still good though. I prefer this one over the other bottle, or have anyway. This one has a little bit less in it than what my other Eagle Rare does. So now, after actually reviewing this one, I kind of want to revisit the other one.
Yeah. That's one thing I know we've talked about on other shows, but if I have a couple different barrel picks, of the same, like say Eagle Rare or Elijah Cray or whatever it is, I always try to save, a 1 ounce or 2 ounce sample of that at the end of the bottle, so I can compare my, whatever bottle I opened,
right,
to that. And so I think right now I have 3 different Elijah Cray 2 ounce samples just sitting by, and I have one other Elijah Cray to open. And when I open that, I'm gonna pour all four of them, and just do them all side by side. And I think it'll be a fun little night.
Yeah. So when you do that, do you find yourself taking notes, or is it just all kind of from memory?
I do take notes. I write down. I try to write down everything. Like I think it's one of our first shows. I told you I write down what you guys are saying, just because it interests me. It's something I just really like to get into. What you think about this bourbon. This is kind of a different one, just because they're 2 different barrel picks. They're single barrels, so they're going to be different.
Yeah.
And that brings me to my next thing. It's like, are we going to average this? Or are we not going to average this?
You can average it, but I think, something like this is best probably kept separate, just because they are 2 totally different barrels.
Exactly. But, the average is an 86.25, which is still a great score.
Right.
But just the Eagle Rare is just the plain off the store shelf 30. What's it in Georgia? Is it 30?
Yeah, it's 30,
33.
Yeah, it's usually between 30 and 35 usually.
Yeah, I think the last bottle I bought was 35. I mean, 10-year age stated, 86.25. I mean, it's definitely worth grabbing.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of people that I know that, well, not a lot, but I do know some good people in the Atlanta bourbon world that, I mean, Eagle Rares, they're daily. They're daily. They'll grab it every time. And it's,
I mean, like I was telling you, you don't see it here in Ohio anymore, hardly. So anytime I see it or get a call for it, I usually get a bottle of it, either to pass on to someone that doesn't have it, or to keep it for myself. But I think I have maybe 4 or 5 different store picks right now. So if I'm picking up one now, it's to pass on to someone else.
Yeah.
But when I start getting low is when I'll keep it for myself.
Right.
But
Get stingy with it.
well, I've run into that problem a couple times. It's I had I think 3 or 4 different barrel picks of Elmer T. Lee. So every time I was getting calls about Elmer T. Lee, I would, I'd pick it up and I'd call one of my buddies or my brother or someone and say, hey, I just got about Elmer. Do you want it? And they're like, oh yeah, okay, sure. It's all to them for what I paid for it. And, and now I'm down to one store pick and my one commemorative, and I'm like, oh. So I'm like, I text my store like, so if you guys get any Elmer anytime soon, let me know. Because the Elmer that I got is a High Times pick, which this what the Eagle Rare was, and it's phenomenal. I actually ended up with, I think, I can't remember if I had 2 or 3 of those Elmer picks, but I mean, it was just, they did a stellar job on that pick, and I wish I could have bought the whole barrel of that.
Yeah. I don't think they do that one anymore, do they? As private picks?
I see them here and there. I don't know if they're doing it anymore, but I bought these bottles about 2 years ago, so they might have stopped since then. I don't know. I hope they keep doing it, because those are great.
Regular Elmer is pretty darn good.
Yeah. So, and they might start up a barrel program again if they're taking away the 10-star. So
that's true.
You never know.
That's true.
So,
yeah, that's one Elmer I've never had is a private pick of it. I've had the commemorative. I've had I think Evan shared a sample of Elmer from '92, I think it was. And then just the regular everyday, well, not every day, but the regular Elmer. So, but I've never had a store pick, so I'll have to be on the lookout for those.
Yeah. Well, when I crack this other one I have, I'll send you a sample. They're fun. I mean, just to see what other people like. It's just, it's fun.
Yeah. So I think the lesson of this show is, if you have a store pick or you have a store that wants to do a pick, then look into it.
Yeah, pick it up.
Look into it. It doesn't matter really what it is. I mean, Knob Creek, Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare. I mean, any store pick, it's worth picking up just to try, and then compare it next to the regular offering. That's fun too, just to see the difference between the two. I mean, there's going to be obvious similarities between them, but then the age difference and the location in the warehouse is going to make a difference as well. So it's fun to see the difference in it.
Yeah, I just recently picked up a Elijah Cray barrel pick, which is non-chill filtered, but it's only aged 8 years. So I'm very interested to see how that plays out. It's a lot younger than normal Elijah Cray, but it's non-chill filtered, right? And it's a single barrel, so it's that's the fun thing about it. You never know. It's just gonna be fun to try.
Yeah, and something I noticed, the new Elijah Craig. We're getting kind of off topic here, but that's all right. It's still bourbon related.
Yeah.
The new Elijah Craig bottles have started hitting the Atlanta area, and the first batch of the barrel strength just hit. And I noticed on the side label it says non-chilled filtered on it, on the barrel strength. And I don't think it was there on the old style labels. I don't think. But I thought that was, if it is, it's not anywhere near as big a print as it is on the newer ones. And I just thought that was really interesting that they called it out the way they did, barrel strength, non-chilled filtered on the newer ones. So
I'm checking real quick. Hold on.
that's all right.
All right. Elijah Cray, barrel proof.
My headphones don't reach that far, or I would be looking to.
I got a very long cord without chill filtering on the back. So it does say it on the back of the old bottles, but not very big.
Yeah.
Just within their little paragraph.
Right. Kind of how they hid the 12-year age statement there for a while. Yeah, but the new one, it was called out. There's a side label on it because the newer bottles kind of have that more slender, but they've got the flat sides on them. And it was, called out barrel strength, non-chilled filtered. Oh, I don't remember ever seeing that on the old ones, but obviously it was. It's just they want everybody to know it now.
It's a new thing, high proof, non-chill filtered.
You're setting the trend, Aaron.
I've been trying to set this trend for a long time. You can always water down your bourbon.
Oh
you
yeah,
can bring it down to whatever proof you want.
Yep.
I think every bourbon should just be barreled as is. Just dump it out of the barrel, bottle it, add water to it if you don't like it that high.
Yeah.
High proof.
Yeah. That's kind of the way I approach, even stuff like barbecue. Don't put anything on it. Just cook it the way you want to cook it, and then let me dress it up the way that I want to.
Yeah.
And same should be applied to whiskey. I agree. I like that philosophy.
So with that, I got nothing else to say.
Me neither. I love it. So pick up any of the Eagle Rare barrel picks that you have. It's we won't give an average score for this one. How about that? It's a good solid pick. So if you see them, pick them up.
For $30, you can't beat it.
Oh gosh, no. A barrel pick at $30 at that. A 10-year, sometimes even more. All right. Where can folks find you?
Well, I am at Bourbon Cave on Instagram and Twitter. And I write for the Bourbon Zeppelin. You can find all my articles, high proof, single barrels on there. And I write for the Sons of Winston Churchill, so you can see all my reviews on there as well. And as I mentioned earlier, I have a nice review of an Eagle Rare 11-year. So check it out.
I am Seth P. Brown on Instagram and Twitter. I am on this show and the Bourbon Show. I too do reviews for the Son of Winston Churchill. You can follow them at Son of Winston Churchill on Instagram. Lots of good reviews. There's pictures of every review that is on that website on Instagram. So definitely give them a follow if you aren't already. I am getting ready to send over to our good friend, Mr. Hassie Berg, my first 1792 review. So be on the lookout for that. That is going to be the 8-year age-stated 1792. So that'll be coming up. You can find all of these shows on iTunes. You can find all of these shows that we do on ABV Network in Google Play and Stitcher. So check them out. ABV.com. You can find all the shows that we do there and listen to them there as well. We do love reviews on all of these shows, especially this one. We need some reviews. We have a couple good reviews, but we would like some more, preferably 5 stars. So if you have any reviews, if you have feedback for us, please leave that. We would love to hear from you. And who knows? If you leave some feedback, maybe we'll even ask you to be a guest on this show. Could get crazy.
Could be.
So do it. That's it. We appreciate you listening. And that's it for this episode. Cheers.
Later.
The Firewater Review is part of the ABV Network. For more information or to become a sponsor, please visit abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening, and cheers.
This episode brought to you by WhiskeyThreads.com. That's WhiskeyThreads.com. Whiskey Threads is modern whiskey gear for those who know whiskey. Just a quick reminder to drink responsibly.